Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Chris DeCubulis. I'm a state specialized 4-H agent with the UF-IFAS Extension Service, and we are here to learn a little bit about poultry showmanship. The 4-H Poultry Project is one of our largest animal projects here in Florida, and showmanship is a wonderful opportunity for you all to show off how well you understand your 4-H poultry project, how well you prepare your birds for show, and you will be evaluated on getting your birds ready for show and also your knowledge of your birds and the poultry that you will be showing. And we have one of the best youth poultry showmen here in Florida to help you learn about poultry showmanship. We've got Hunter here from Hernando County.
So first of all, whenever you're starting from the cage of the chicken, every time you want to handle your bird, everything is just a good rule of thumb is head first. You want to follow getting out of the cage, handing it to another person, or anything like that. You want to go head first. And always make sure you close the cage behind you. The main reason that you want to do everything head first is because it helps you maintain control of the bird and to also prevent the bird from injuring itself. Say it flaps its wing or something. You don't want it to get caught on the edge of the cage or anything like that.
Hunter, can you tell us how you're holding that bird?
Okay, this is the proper way to hold the bird in walking or just carrying it at all. You always want to have, I'll just flip it over so you can see there here. Oh, there you go. 2 fingers on the insides of their legs and then the other 2 on the outside. And then this way you can have full control over her in case she wants to wiggle around just like that so she doesn't get away. And this is mainly for the bird's safety so they don't get away or hurt themselves or anything. And I also like to do is have my pinky and my thumb on top of her wings just so she can't flap or try to squirm or anything like that.
So talk to me about this particular bird. This isn't just a bird that you this morning for the first time ever went and caught in your coop and decided to be your showmanship bird. How did you prepare this bird to be one of your showmanship birds?
This bird, obviously it was bred to be shown, but before this I bathed them and also I checked them for any signs of parasites or anything like that. The main reason for checking that is because you don't want them to have any, obviously, and you just check under their feathers, under their wings, any area that might be covered by something. Those are the main areas where mites or any other external parasites will be. And I always wash my bird before any show or any event that I'm taking my bird to. Like these were just washed yesterday. Mainly the only way I do that is I just soak them in water, use any kind of soap or shampoo. I prefer a Dawn, and just make sure they're nice and clean. And I also provide a nice what is called a show sheen. It's just to make their feathers a little more shiny, a little more conditioning. It's just like putting conditioner in your hair, really.
So if you have a flock of, let's say, a dozen birds at home, and you choose one for your showmanship bird, some of that's going to be based on their personality. How do you talk me through that process? How do you choose that bird, and then how do you train that bird? Because I understand, this bird, she's not trying to escape from you. She's obviously calm as you're holding her there. So talk to us all about how you prepare. How do you choose that right bird from your flock to be your showmanship bird? And then how do you prepare to where she's calmly resting in your palm like that right now?
Well, obviously for choosing, it's going to be hard whenever they're young. Any young bird is going to be flighty, doesn't want to go near you. That's just a natural thing. It's mainly you just want to pick out of those ones which one seems the calmest. They're not going to be completely calm from the get-go, but it's just going to take some time. And then once you pick that bird and you just spend time with it every day or as much as possible, just handle it, and eventually it'll learn to trust you, and it will be calm every time you try to handle it. It won't try to run from you. It's just going to be, it's a partnership really, and it's going to take some time no matter what bird it is. It's just you have to pick the one that you want to use and just go from there.
So you started showing in 4-H as a clover bud at age 5. And so I'm guessing you didn't start out with a Jersey Giant as a 5-year-old. So talk to me about your first bird, and what would you recommend not getting it size-wise and temperament-wise for somebody that maybe isn't as experienced as you?
Now, well, most people would think that the smaller bird is obviously the way to go, which sometimes it is, but I would recommend it for more of an experienced showman, as smaller birds can be hard to train at some times, and they can be more flighty. This bird obviously is very calm. That's just because I've worked with it so much. For a younger showman, I would prefer the breed of a silkie. They're always been a docile breed. That's what I started with. They're pretty much calm from the youngest age of a pullet or a cockerel all the way to their rooster or a hen. Those are the easiest to train out of any bird that I've ever handled, and those are definitely the ones I would recommend for a new showman.
And Hunter, can you demonstrate for us now? I see you're holding her in a proper way. What are some other ways that you could carry this bird or hold this bird in a show situation?
Okay. Well, whenever you show a bird, if you're walking or even if you're standing in line, you always want to hold it like this. This is the best way to maintain control, with that hand placement underneath with her fingers and her legs, and then on the wings. And then if you have a larger bird and you can't do that with your pinky or thumb, this other hand you just put on top to just hold their wings down. This way it makes them feel comfortable, makes them feel secure, makes them feel like they're not going to fall over or anything like that. And then you walk up to the judge and just say, you'd introduce yourself. So like, hi, my name is Hunter Forsica. You can go over some facts about your bird, things like that. And then you just start going over. So what I like to do whenever I'm going over the parts, I hold it out like this, also maintaining control with my hand and just moving its head as I'm going through it. Holding it to where the judge can see what I'm looking at, but also to where I know what I'm looking at too. So I just go over from the beak, looking for any chips or cracks, making sure it's the correct color for your specific breed, and go all the way through. And then until you get to the wings, all I do is I take the pinky or the thumb off of that one wing and hold it out with that opposite hand, holding the other wing down at the same time. And then I'm also showing the judge what I'm looking at here, making sure all of the feathers are there, going over the parts of the wing and things like that. And going over this on the other wing as well. And then for going over the vent area, all I'll do is I place it on my side and hold it up a little bit just so the judge can see what I'm looking at. Going over checking for external parasites, any signs of diseases, or anything like that. And then going over the legs, this is another aspect. This is probably the most difficult and challenging part of chicken showmanship, is because you have to flip them over, place them against your thigh, and they might squirm a little bit, but that's okay. And then just holding the leg, just like you did the wing, with the opposite hand, just to go over. This is the most difficult part because this is the most uncomfortable feeling for the chicken during showmanship, but this just, again, takes practice just like everything else.
Well, that's wonderful. And for those watching this video, tell us what breed and variety you have here.
This is a golden lace, which that is the variety, and then a Seabright, that's the breed. Some interesting facts I would go over. No matter what chicken you have, just know specifics about your bird. So the class, if it's a bantam or a large fowl, interesting facts, just stuff like that.
So I would like for you now, Hunter, if you don't mind, could you walk us through the presentation that you would do, pretending I'm a judge or maybe pretending the camera's a judge, and just so that our folks that maybe are new to poultry showmanship or maybe aren't as confident can learn from one of the best we have in Florida of how to present your bird to a judge based on things you need to know about your breed and variety.
Okay, so first of all, whenever you go up to the judge, every single time you want to introduce yourself. So I'd be like, hello, my name is Hunter Forsica, and then go into facts about the bird that you're using for showmanship. So again, this is a golden-laced Seabright hen. The breed Seabright is known as a true bantam, which means there's no large fowl counterpart, and there are two varieties, golden-laced and silver-laced. This is a golden-laced. And the difference is that their silver lace are the white color instead of this brownish color. Interesting facts like that will be able to set you apart from any other competitors in your age division. This is going to make the judge think and know that you really know what you're doing and you have experience in showing birds. And then after you go into interesting facts and everything, you're going to go over the parts of the bird, examining them and just observing. So starting with the head, obviously, the beak, you're going to check for any cracks or any overgrown or undergrowth of the top beak. So this is checking to make sure that they have the ability to eat enough food. And also you want to check your standards of perfection for your breed to know the correct color of the breed's beak. And then going into the comb, you're also going to make sure that it's the correct comb type, which there are 9. And for Seabright, it is a rose comb. You're going to make sure it is the correct color, just like the beak, which is for Seabright's mulberry red, and no rips or tears or any injuries like that. And then you're going to move to the wattles and really check for the same thing, rips, tears, making sure it's the correct color. And then moving on to the eyes, you're going to make sure those are the correct color, there's no signs of blindness, and also you can go into another detail about how they have 3 eyelids and their purposes. Any interesting facts about parts, bird, anything will be able to set you apart from other competitors. And then you're going to check the earlobes, again, making sure there's no rips or tears. It's pretty much just like the wattle, except for the coloration and everything you also have to check and go over and make sure it's the correct for your breed. And then you're going to move on to the neck of the bird. And since this is a hen, I don't have to go over sickle or hackle feathers, but if it were a rooster, for Seabrights, an interesting fact you could go into is how they are what is called hen feathered, meaning they'd have no sickle or hackle feathers where other roosters do. And in here, you're just going to check for any signs of external parasites, such as mice, lice, fleas, ticks, anything like that. You're just going to do this by lifting up the feathers, or you could even blow to move the fluff around so you can see. And also show the judge what you're looking at this time. And then you're going to move to the back or the midsection of the bird, which is called the saddle. And then you're also going to check for external parasites there. And in hens, you're also going to measure the width of their back and show that to the judge in order to go over their quality of egg production. And then after that, you're moving on to the wings. Just like before, you're going to be showing the parts of the wing, which is the shoulder, the bow, the bar, the primary coverts, the primary flight feathers, the axle feather, and the secondary flight feathers. You're just making sure they're all there. It's a good thing to know the number of the primary flight feathers, which is 10, the number of the secondary, which could be anywhere from 14 to 16, and any interesting facts that you want to go over for your specific bird. Since this is a golden lace, you can go over the patterning or anything like that. And you're going to do that for the other wing as well. The way I like to do it is, since this is I can't do it like I did the other way, I hold it against my body and just spread it out like this and going over the same way. It's much easier to go over the other side first because you have more control. And then you're checking underneath the wings, any signs for external parasites as well. No mites, lice, anything like that. And then you're moving on to the tail of the bird. You're also making sure there's no signs of screw tail, wry tail. Pretty much just means you want to make sure that it's nice and straight. And then you're going to move on to the vent of the bird. This is another area where you're just checking for any signs of external parasites. And there's also vent disease, which this is another interesting thing that you should study. And you can look up pictures and everything like that to know whether or not your bird does have it, or you could go into detail saying, no, it does not, and this is what it looks like. This is just another thing that will set you apart from other competitors. And then, this is the hardest part again, to flip the bird over. They might get a little uncomfortable at first, just let them calm down if they do. And then, you're going to go over the legs at the first, making sure that they're not broken or anything like that. And then this is another thing that changes depending on the breed. You want to make sure that it's the correct color. For Seabrights, it would need to be slate blue. And then on the bottom of their pad of the foot, you're also making sure there's no signs of what is known as bumblefoot, which is just an infection they get if they get a cut on the bottom of their foot. And then you're also making sure all of their toes and toenails are there, that the toenails are also the correct color, and that they're not broken or crooked or anything like that. You're going to do this for both legs, and then after that, this is another difficult part, but you're going to measure the pelvic bone. This is another thing for egg production in hens. You do not have to do this for roosters, but you just show the width to the judge, and then you measure the breastbone or the keel, just the length of that, and then show that to the judge. And then after that, you can just return to the way you carried it to go up to the judge and just ask, do you have any questions?
So, Hunter, you mentioned standard of perfection. Can you talk
Yes.
to our folks watching this? What are you referring to when you talk about the standard of perfection?
Okay, the standard of perfection is basically, it's a book that goes over every single breed of bird that APA recognizes. For Seabrights, it goes over every variety, every single thing that is a disqualification or a defect. Any fact that you need to know in showing, you can find in the standard of perfection. That is my key resource for studying. It's everything that you need to know, and it's mainly just for the breed that you want to use for showmanship. That's where you want to read all of your information.
Okay, and then it will have in there class, breed, and variety information. So
Yes.
we maybe talk a little bit about what those words mean, class,
Okay.
breed, and variety.
The class will be just Rose-comb clean leg is a Seabright class. There are Bantam classes and there are large fowl classes. Every bird goes into one of these classes. If it's a Bantam class, there's Rose-comb clean leg, all other comb clean leg, single comb clean leg, feather leg, and modern game, Old English game, and Bantam duck. So any of these, like it'll say in the standard of perfection. I know it sounds a little overwhelming, but it just says it right in there for you. It's very easy to understand. It's just takes some time, takes some studying and stuff like that. And there's also large fowl classic classes as well, and those will also be listed. And then the varieties, that is basically the colors of your bird. Since this is a golden laced, basically what that means is since it has this brown feather with a black trim, that means it is a golden colored with a lace. And there's also the silver laced variety for the Seabright, which is the same except for instead of this brown coloration, it would be white. And then the class, the variety, and what else?
Breed.
No, the breed. The breed is just. You really should know this fur whenever you're showing it. You can ask the breeder that you buy your bird from, or if you know anybody that has ever shown, you can ask for any guidance, or you could just look through the book until you find one that looks like your bird, and then that is what it is, and then you could just study off of what you find.
Another thing that's common in poultry showmanship is posing your bird. And Hunter, I know sometimes that's done in a cage, sometimes it's done on a table. Would you mind trying it on the table we've got set up here to see if you could show other young people how they might go about posing their bird in a show situation?
Of course. Okay. So whenever you're posing your bird, I'll do it over here. You want to first set them down, and I know they can get a little nervous and they'll try to sit down. And then a key way I've learned is sometimes if you just she might not stand up. She's a little nervous right here, but it's okay if they don't. Just this is mainly what the judge is looking for, is you know what your standard of perfection of how the bird is supposed to be posed looks like. And for Seabrights, it's just their tail is put up and their head is put up just like this. Even though she's sitting down, you just wanted to show that you know what it's supposed to look like. That is the main thing that a judge is looking for whenever you're posing. It doesn't really matter if your bird stays like that. It's just so your knowledge of what your bird is supposed to do according to the standard of perfection. Since this is a Seabright again, the main way to pose this bird is have them standing up, have their tail lifted, and their head lifted as well. Since she's getting a little nervous, she won't stand up right now, but this, again, it's just to make sure that you know what they're supposed to look like when they're being posed.
And then there's a nuance of putting your bird back in the cage correctly, isn't there?
Yes. This is the key aspect. This is no matter what you're doing with your bird, it is the most important aspect from a junior all the way to a senior. Whether you're handing your bird to someone, whether you're putting it in a cage, taking it out of a cage, you always want to do it head first. And the main way I like to do it, whether you're handing it, putting in the bird, or whatever, is you put your hands on the side to maintain control of the wing. And then I also have my pinkies behind her legs and my ring fingers in front of them, just so I have control still. And I put her in head first. I set her down. And then I also try to pose her, just again to show that you know what you're doing to the judge. And then back away and close the cage.
That's key, right? Always remember to close the cage.
Yes. Always remember to close the cage. That is in a lot of things that whenever you get nervous, you'll tend to forget. However, this is another key aspect that you need to know whenever you're showing.
Well, Hunter, I thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us today. I can certainly see why you're one of our best youth poultry showmen in the state of Florida, and I think a lot of young people going forward that watch this video will be able to come up and thank you when they see you for sharing your expertise with them. So thank you, sir.
Thank
you very much.